I think one thing that's really going to appeal to people is that Vish Puri's mysteries are set in India now. It's not the old Raj, it's not Mughal India, it's not up in lovely hill stations. You know, it's very much showing you what India is becoming in the cities at least, because you've got this huge new middle class in a city like Delhi with their big shiny new cars, office blocks, and big apartment blocks with extraordinary kind of luxury suddenly springing up all over the place. And yet at the same time, in the last 10 years or so, you've had millions and millions of very, very poor Indians coming in. So you've still got this very, very intense poverty, slums, you know, getting bigger and bigger in Delhi, while the middle classes get wealthier and wealthier. This huge wealth gap. And Puri, you know, in his work obviously is taken into the different worlds. So one minute he may be in an extraordinary sort of penthouse with automatic flush toilets and parquet flooring with clients who are extraordinarily rich, and at the same time he's having to find a servant girl who's come from very, very, very poor backward India, where they've, you know, not even got water and toilets still, who's come to the city looking for work and run into all sorts of problems. So it really bridges, you know, those different worlds. As far as research is concerned, I've lived in Delhi, you know, for a number of years, and I know it, you know, well, but I never really had to sort of go under the surface of the place, just in day-to-day life, the way people live, the way they go about things. And India is changing so much in the cities. People's lifestyles are changing, and there are parts of Delhi now 10 years ago that just simply didn't exist. So I found myself having to go into new parts of Delhi that I'd never been to before, particularly way down in the south of the city, where there are all these new call centers and multinationals and banks and law firms and all these big glass towers and apartment blocks. 10 years, 12 years ago, you know, it was farmland. So Delhi is changing and expanding, and I did find when I was writing the book I really had to go and sort of, you know, look at these places and get to know them. Does Vish Puri take inspiration from any other detectives like Sherlock Holmes or Poirot or anyone like that? Absolutely not. I mean, he's very, very, very proud as a you know, Punjabi of his Indianness. And he takes his inspiration from the tradition of Indian espionage, which goes back more than 2,000 years to the Mauryan Empire, which actually had its own spy network, which is the first spy network that was ever set up in the world. And even then they were sort of practicing undercover work, disguises. I mean, there's all sorts of guides to how to be a good undercover spy. One of the great treatises of India recommends, you know, going undercover as a dwarf or a hunchback or a nun. So there were all these kind of recommendations of how to be an undercover operative. He uses all those techniques and is keeping them very much alive. So I mean, there's a classic moment when he goes to see one of his clients, and as he enters the room she says, "Ah, the Sherlock Holmes of India," and he bristles at that because he sees Sherlock Holmes as a newcomer to the whole art of investigation. Am I going to write more Vish Puri novels? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've written into the book references to all sorts of other cases, and you're really coming to Puri mid-career here. He's 51. He's had his detective agency since the 80s. And I've put in all sorts of references to cases that he's worked on before, like the case of the missing polo elephant, the case of the jilted babu. A babu is a bureaucrat. And yeah, he's in his prime as a detective. So there's lots more to come, definitely. Yeah, I think what makes Vish Puri so unique is that he's not just a detective with a sidekick in the sort of, you know, classic Holmes and Watson style. He works with a whole team of undercover operatives who are extremely well practiced at going into all kinds of situations. So in this book, he's trying to find out where this missing servant has gone. It's very, very hard for him to go and talk to the other servants because they'll find him very intimidating and get straight answers from them. So what you need to do in India when you need information is you know, get the right kind of person to go and talk to the right kind of people, and that's how you're going to get your answers. So he uses these undercover operatives who will go into like a household and work as servants alongside the servants who are already there, befriend them, get their trust, and then gets the answers that he needs through them. One of his best operatives is a girl called Face Cream, who's a Nepali, who's you know, a really slick operator, very tough, and she'll maybe one day be posing as a sort of party girl in a nightclub to find out what a young, you know, middle-class, hip Indian guy is like, or the next moment she's posing as a servant girl washing the floors in somebody's house. So you've got these extraordinary characters who are able to go into all kinds of different kinds of situations.